see that smirk on your face. You already look like you're having too much fun.
I am, my friend. I just love giving people, like, triggering people with the key melodies first thing. This is a surprise live stream, too. What the hell? I'm just gonna grab that link, toss it in the VH group.
I'm gonna try to go off to the side because I got cars coming around here.
Alright, don't get hit.
Yeah, I'm fine. It's just a quiet neighborhood, but people drive around here a lot.
Alright, everybody in there, give me a sound check. Can you hear us? Anybody in the live chat, can you hear me? Someone says that music brings back such sweet memories. Not. Alright, my friend DR. Okay, good. They can hear us. I just wanted to double check before we got too far into this thing. It would really suck to do like an hour-long live stream and then at the end of it find out no one heard you the entire time. So, all right, my man DR, welcome to the live stream. This is Faithful Slaves live stream. It's very new. This is probably like the third time I've done this, but I try not to go on the VAH when I don't have Joel or Eric with me because it just doesn't feel right. But it's VAH in spirit. Joel's busy tonight; he couldn't be on. But we have DR here. He's a newcomer to the Vast Apostate Hour Facebook group. How long have you been in there, roughly?
That's a very good question. I actually don't know. You'd have to ask Son of Thunder that question because he's the one who added me. So
hasn't been a year though, right?
It's probably been within the last couple months or so.
Right. I thought it was pretty recently. And you've been on fire, man. I really enjoy your posts in there.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. You know, getting the health in order. And I'll briefly state, you know, just a brief experience before I talk about what's in store for all the people on the live stream tonight. I had I have really bad health, even for a young person. And I almost died actually last fall because I have a very bad problem with blood sugar and blood pressure runs in the family. So my sugars were in the fatal zone last year. My doctor was like, "Why are you still here? Like, you're supposed to be dead." Like, he said, that's the first thing he said. He said,
"You're supposed to hear that from your doctor, right?"
Yeah, I mean, favorite pastime, hearing you're supposed to be dead. So he tells me, he's like, you know, at the very least, you're supposed to have something amputated at this point. I got all my hands and feet, bro. You know, so it's kind of funny how your health improves when you leave, because that's not supposed to happen.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And so anyway, I hope that everyone's ready for probably the craziest ride of the year. So I'll just get right into it.
That's what we're here to talk about. We've had some crazy news here recently, and everybody's reporting on it and going crazy. People are freaking out. There's Jehovah's Witnesses who are coming out and saying this is the final straw. They're leaving. You were there for the annual meeting. Is that correct? What do they call it? The special talk? Or is that something else?
Well, to be clear, I wasn't there in person. The annual meeting was live streamed to my local Kingdom Hall. So
Okay.
I was able to call in on the conference line, an idea given to me by Candace Lambert. Shout out to Candace.
Yeah, we love
And I was able
Candace.
to listen to it through the phone line. So as I've told people in the group, what I had to do was I had to put my phone on speaker, so I couldn't use my superior microphone, take an old phone I don't use anymore, and then it was like right before Jeffrey Jackson said, "Don't put this on the internet." That's when I pushed record.
Oh, so that's when you started recording.
Yeah, well, it was like 5 seconds right before that. So he's like, "Do not put these notes on the internet." I said, "Well, too freaking bad."
You're gonna put it on them anyway, huh?
Yeah, I was like, yep, that's what's happening. So people should be able to go to the drive link to my channel and get the 3-hour audio. Seems to be the only way it works.
Okay.
But I want to tell everybody, because I never got a chance to say this, for those who want the 3-hour part of the audio, be aware that's not the whole meeting. It's vast majority of it, but I had to make a separate audio for Tight Pants Morris's talk. Now, the thing about his talk was he said a few things that were borderline offensive, but it was David Splain that took the cake this year. So I'm going to get... So, all right, introductions aside, no more wasting time.
Yeah,
all
let's
right.
get to it, man.
So,
you were not there, but you heard this
I heard
thing that everyone's freaking out about.
When people were getting ready to sing the song, that's when I hung up the phone. So I heard the whole thing. So anyway, so first of all, in the Watchtower, the Watchtower summary was the first part of the meeting, and the speaker was changing his. It started out with a Watchtower summary, so we all know how that was going to go. So yeah, people answering on the stage and stuff, and and there were certain things that the speaker himself emphasized, and I thought I kind of found it weird. Something I couldn't put my finger on, and it was that he said something about meeting requirements. I don't know what the heck that meant. So that's like
meeting
one of the
requirements?
most. Yes, he was like, something didn't meet the requirements, blah blah blah, and it was so scrambled, because mind you, this is going on. I'm trying to type notes as quickly as I hear them. So he was talking about something about meeting requirements. So I think the whole back message that's being said here, the whole hidden message is reach out and do more. But that's going to be also coupled with when I go over Tight Pants Morris's talk.
So who are we talking about? Who was talking at this point, the beginning here?
I do not know the name. You would actually have to play the audio to get the name.
But this was just the Watchtower, right?
And this was just the Watchtower summary. So he said that old thing that we heard about stepping over into Macedonia. We heard that one before. So then he said Paul wondered why he would allow God to let him get locked up and all that stuff, and that Paul focused on the positives. We know, for anyone who has brain cells left, that should translate to. I'm just playing.
He was being negative. That was their take on the whole thing. He was being such a negative Gus. That one.
No, what it was saying that Paul didn't think about the negatives. He thought about the positives. But anyone who rereads that account in the Bible, Paul knows why he got locked up. So that's when I started looking around the room, and I wasn't even there. So that was something.
You were looking around the room, but you weren't even there.
You know what people do? Like you see the memes where you're not moving your head, but your eyeballs are going around the room.
It's kind of like.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, so it's kind of like ignoring the negatives like they don't exist. And he said Paul's situation changed unexpectedly, which that was wrong because Paul knew he was going to jail. So how?
Yeah.
And they start talking about making sure we get things in the proper context.
Oh my gosh. I'm so tired of hearing everybody talk about context. I mean, context is important. I'm not going to downplay the importance of context, but it has literally become a scapegoat for every single thing that trips people up about what you're selling. Oh, well, you know, the context. You got to consider the context.
Exactly. So what I started thinking about was, at this point, was I think that between everything that he's saying at this point, I think that it was actually a subtle nod towards what happened in Russia. And I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
Because of what he said next. Paul suffered injustice, and this is pretty much a direct quote. Paul suffered injustice, and it resulted in a legal defense. Well, what happened in Russia? They had $60 million worth of property hijacked. So I was wondering why the speaker was emphasizing a legal defense.
Well, yeah, they know absolutely no shame. Absolutely everything that happens in the world, especially anything that slightly involves them, they connect to Bible prophecy, and it's this is exactly what was foretold would happen.
Oh wait, just wait for the part about David's plan. Everyone's gonna fly out of their chairs. But I'll get there. So, but then he says one of the most ridiculous things that I've ever heard. He says, there are no theoretical opinions. So he was saying that there's everything that's being said is not theory and it's not opinion. It is fact.
Okay, at what point did that switch? Because there was a lot of theoretical stuff that in no way, shape, or form ended up to be fact.
Right. So it's kind of like what he was saying, the context surrounding the talk was pretty much saying the whole idea was everything we say is not, theoretical. It's, it's just like how everything from the governing body is not to be taken as theory. So, and even that was said before, I think, when Morris was talking on another talk on the broadcasting website. So anyway.
I'm confused though. This is so typical of them to talk out of two sides of their mouths.
Exactly.
How long ago was it that we heard him say that it is true that at times we have had some wrong expectations, and now they're saying everything that comes out of our mouth, there's no theory, this is fact.
He boldface said this is not theoretical opinion. Boldface said it. So then he says this. He says, it is vital to continue on while waiting for responses to your prayers. So, what does that mean to you? So he said, he was talking about how Paul was locked up and everything, and we don't understand why certain things happen. So we're pretty much being told, look, let's just ignore everything and let's just keep going with our quote unquote ministry. So that's what was being said.
Well, that's kind of different from what we have floating around. A lot of people are talking like they are using language to suggest the preaching work is done. It's over.
I think so. The ministry talk was based more on what Morris was saying. This is just the beginning of the meeting, so those stories will pretty much line up. And I have a statement from them, but just don't get ahead of me.
Okay, sorry. Right.
So, because you're getting me mixed up. I was like, DR's a liar. Let's burn him.
All right, DR. I will kind of ask you, if there's nothing incredibly juicy in the Watchtower study, maybe we could skip a little forward.
I'm moving. Okay, so I'm moving. So here's the big killer. I'll just give you guys the big killer. David explains.
That's what we're all waiting for, man. We just.
I thought I built it up, kept everyone gripping their chairs and everything. That's what the plan was. I'm gonna be honest with you.
You heard it here live. We are dripping. DR said.
So David Splain has said, we all know about the former understanding of Ezekiel's vision. And it was supposed to be that it's Jehovah's Celestial Chariot. It represents the organization. Well, that's not what it is anymore.
It's
now a double vision.
Oh God, they got double vision now. Oh my
Yes.
God.
I kid you not. I kid you not.
Well, I mean,
It's
we've
not.
got overlapping generations. It only makes sense that now we have double vision.
That is exactly what I thought of first. It is. I'm like, so they want to do a double overlapping generation. Now it's a double vision. I mean, they're making Ezekiel sound like a stoner.
Oh my God.
Anyway, so Splain was saying that Ezekiel wasn't touring some spiritual temple, and that there's a minor fulfillment and a major fulfillment. The minor one was something I got lost up in the jumble. The audio got jumbled up, but the major fulfillment has been since 1919. So they're reinforcing that too. We were selected back then.
Sure we were.
That Paul was representing Ezekiel's vision and something that he wrote, and that hold on, let me see here. That they were back in 1919. Up until that point, there was almost a direct confession. I don't want people to think, and quote me on it, but there was almost a direct confession that they were worshiping Satan before 1919.
So
what? Now, let me tell you how he said it, because we know what they believe about Babylon the Great. It's all Satan-led, right? So what he was saying was, before 1919, Jehovah's people were in Babylon the Great. So what does that tell you?
Right.
Who were they worshiping?
So they were worshiping the devil. If they were part of Babylon the Great, that's what they
exactly. Teach. That's what I'm trying to say. Like I said, it wasn't directly stated. It's something you have to let it marinate and you got to think on it.
Which is wild, because I mean that throws Russell under the bus.
Oh yes, it does. Wow. Yeah. So Ezekiel's double vision. The physical temple was supposed to have something to do with God's requirements, and the spiritual temple is God's arrangement. So I'm like, what? I'm like, that's what it meant. So actually, it's kind of as if it's a double vision with 4 different meanings. That's what was kind of like coming across as, So that was pretty much the kicker. Ezekiel's vision was fulfilled today, not in 29 CE. That's just something that was also said, pretty much word for word. And so, but then he goes back and he says, Jesus' sacrifice is enough, though.
Wait, so, hold on, what?
So, yeah, he was saying, that with all these requirements that had to be fulfilled in the ancient style worship, he's saying that nowadays Jesus' sacrifice is enough, and that those things are not necessary, but then goes on about this double vision. Remember the double talk? So I'm kind of jumping around these notes here because there's so much double talk. It leaves you going, huh?
Yeah, man.
So there was so much. Just keep in mind, he's saying all of this, and the moment I'm hearing it, I'm trying to type it. So he already spoke 4 sentences.
All I need to know about this double vision thing is that they actually used the words double vision. Did they?
Yes.
They used the words double vision.
Yes. I kid you not. Right before Splain started talking, the word double vision was used.
Okay.
I kid you not.
Like, I don't think you or I could ever properly describe what it is they're trying to sell us, because it doesn't make any sense to begin with. But I'm just happy to report, you heard it here, that they went on about Ezekiel's vision being a double vision.
I kid you not. I'm trying to explain all of this the best I can so that we can laugh at them, but I'm trying to, but it's so confusing that it's all right. So there was that. Mark Sanderson had a talk, and I want to say this real quick, though. It's kind of interesting that the only governing body member that did not give a talk was Jeffrey Jackson.
Ooh, you think he got put in the doghouse for the Australian Royal Commission?
That's exactly what I was thinking. In fact, I was talking to Cindy K. James from the group, and that's pretty much what she was telling me. And I didn't even think about it that way, but it would make a lot of sense if it was, because then he has plausible deniability if he ever has to go back. But it's still not plausible deniability anyway, because
he's
was
one of the guys.
He was the chairman of the whole meeting, so he was there. So, like, why, but still he gets to play stupid. But anyway.
Before you go any further, can you describe for me a little bit of how this meeting worked, like the format of it? Were people actually gathered at Kingdom Halls and they were listening to audio of these brothers via the internet, live stream or something? What?
So, to the best of, like I said, I was listening to us through a phone hookup. I am pretty sure that this was going down live, because one is my parent went, my believing parent, she was there. Well, my mom, she was there. So this was being streamed to over 9,000 locations. So I'm pretty sure that these talks are being given that day, not pre-recorded.
So somehow they're relaying these talks of the governing body to the congregations live.
Well, I just want to say, though, that I could be wrong, because, like I said, I wasn't there. So
they'd have to be, right? I mean, they are gathering at the congregations, and
because it sounded like I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, that's fine. And you're hearing the audio of the governing body members, correct?
Yes,
okay.
These were their voices. It sounded, it was so smooth of a transition. I would be shocked if it was not, if it was pre-recorded. I would be shocked, because that's a little too smooth of a transition for it to be pre-recorded.
Right.
So I found it interesting, though. Mark Sanderson had said in his talk, first of all, it was entitled "Never Ever Lose Hope." I wonder why they would have a talk called "Never Lose Hope."
Because everybody's losing hope. I mean,
so I kind of found that funny. He said, and he says this. He says, hope is like an anchor. You have to think about it. Hope is like an anchor. Well, what does an anchor do? Now, the J-Dubs are thinking, oh, we can be nice and secure and everything. Well, an anchor weighs you down, doesn't it?
That's a good point. Yeah, they use that anchor, and they use the ship in a stormy sea all the time. I made a video, it's probably been a year now, about the Bethelites and how there was a talk they give to try and calm down Bethelites who were freaking out that they were getting kicked out and treated like garbage due to all these changes. And he used the illustration of Bethel is like a ship in a stormy sea, and there's many volatile changes, but you've just got to hang in there. And it's like, wow, you just likened your top men, the people who run this organization, as being in a stormy sea.
Right?
Wow.
So it's a mind blower. He was, Mark Sanderson kept repeating this too. He said, "No hope equals no power." I kind of found that one weird. I can't really tell you the thought I was having at that point, because I don't remember no more. But he'll say, "No hope, no power," and he kept on saying that. So I was like, "What?" And he was mentioning how hope is not wishful thinking.
This is starting to sound like a Star Wars movie. Like, I could just hear Obi-Wan going, "Use the Force. Hope. There is always hope. If there's no hope, there's no power."
Good one. Good one. I can't speak. Chill.
Sorry.
I mean, dying in front of my neighbors. Anyway. So then he goes on to mention, okay, so he's trying to give people hope, but then he goes on how 47 witnesses in Venezuela were murdered.
What?
Yep.
That's an awesome segue. Guys, you have to have hope. Now, in other news, a bunch of witnesses just got murdered.
Yes. I know.
Wow, that is so jarring.
Right? But then he says there was another peak. Despite all this in Venezuela, there was a peak in pioneers.
Bullshit. I'm going to say it right now. I don't care who's listening. That's bullshit. There is no freaking way their numbers have gone up in like 3 years. And I think it's ridiculous. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
So here's the thing, though, because I started laughing at that point. But notice how he said a peak in pioneers, not a peak in publishers, not as in people getting baptized. The amount of people going from what they were doing to going full time, which means at best they're being stagnant, not increasing.
Well, you know what's funny to me is that they've lowered the requirements to be a pioneer again and again and again and again and again, and their numbers are still dropping. There's no way I'm buying this pioneer number peaking.
Right. So then he said that these brothers from Venezuela were sitting in the parking lot of the Kingdom Hall. No, it was one of the places that was a natural disaster. I forget where it was. But these people were sitting in the parking lot of the Kingdom Hall, the destroyed Kingdom Hall, and they were not disappointed.
I mean, if that made your day,
I'm laughing at this because I'm like, I know how I'd feel if I was
I'm talking about if you were one of those brothers there in the parking lot and that made your day. You got issues. They were not disappointed, huh?
Right. So, they were not disappointed. So, they weren't disappointed that, homes they were destroyed, their Kingdom Halls busted. Nah, but we're going to just sit in the parking lot, though. So, Samuel Hurd had a talk, and it was called Protected by Obedience.
Oh, my God.
I bet, so here's what he says, because there's a couple kickers that he said in this. So, he says to stay with the organization, then he says, every meeting is like a slap.
What?
Yes, I kid you not. He said because he was talking about people being asleep and all that, spiritually asleep. So he's
so every meeting is like a slap?
He said that. I kid you not. That was word for word what he said. I don't remember word for word what some other people said. That's why I have notes. But he said that word for word. So then he said, and I quote once again, "Be willing to be slapped."
Please tell me you're joking.
Nope.
You made that up.
Nope.
He said you have to be willing to be slapped.
Si, senor.
I quit. You know what? Broadcast is over. Good night, everybody. Give me a freaking break. I mean, don't get me wrong.
I'm sorry.
When I was in the Kingdom Hall as a kid, I got slapped plenty. So I get the illustration, but it seems a little counterproductive to tell your members that, hey, come to this great thing we have here. It feels like getting slapped in the face. Well, you're going to love it. You need to be willing to accept it. Open palm.
It sounds like it. So you're still saying that it sounds like an abusive relationship.
That's exactly. Well, that's exactly.
Just let it happen. Just let it happen.
Just let it happen.
So Stephen Lett was up next. I call him slack-jawed idiot, but he said his talk was called "Never Give Up Much for Little." So he was talking about how people who have left the organization are being more materialistic. This is not a direct quote. I'm just saying what pretty much the implications of what I was hearing. So don't quote me. So you don't want to give away so much in the organization for the little bit you get in the world. And he was talking about Moses and all that, and he said this, and I thought it was kind of funny. He said, "Learn from Satan."
What?
And I was like, no, he said learn from Satan. Now you're thinking learn from what he did and be warned. But I took that as a double entendre. Because you can learn from all the evil things the devil did. This is true. But then it's kind of like, well, let's go back and remember Freemasons worship Satan. Russell was a Freemason. So who are you really being taught by at the end of the day? It's kind of funny how an organization that has all this new light keeps its members in the dark.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of like how dark it is out here right now. So I thought that was so he was talking about avoiding bad association, don't give up the organization and make sure you know how to treat disfellowshipped people. Reinforcing the show. In short, sweet and simple. Remember how to treat disfellowshipped people. So he wasn't really talking more about inactive. He said for those who are disfellowshipped, be obedient to that arrangement, pretty much. So, hold on, let me see where else I'm at.
It's crazy to me that they're still so adamant and they enforce some of these doctrines so strictly, even while facing their own demise. It's wild.
I call them spiritual pharaohs because that's the only thing I can think of. For some reason, no matter how many people they lose, they still won't change.
It's like God hardened their hearts, and they're just going to be the worst organization imaginable, no matter what. And you can't change us. Yeah.
Yeah. So he was talking about what, everything that Moses accomplished in Egypt was insignificant. Oh, no, anything Moses could have accomplished in Egypt was nothing compared to what he did in Jehovah's service. And I'm thinking Moses could have been the best of the best, and I'm like, I can get what the witnesses would be thinking, but for people who've left, it's kind of like, okay, do I want to be a janitor or a window washer, or do I want to be working in a corporate building making 5 figures a year? I mean, let's be honest, Anyway, so he was talking about being willing. This is not a direct quote again, but the idea behind it was be willing. Hold on, car. Be willing to give up family relationships.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that was instilled upon them since, I don't know, what, 1960 or something? Yeah.
Yeah, giving up your possessions to enter the full-time ministry. That's another one. So...
it's funny. Like, I'm not as versed in the Bible as some of the others, but I remember Jesus telling people to leave their belongings behind, but I don't remember him telling them to, like, leave all their family behind. At least not on purpose. Like, maybe they couldn't take them with them, so they had to leave them, but it wasn't like, hey, you need to just drop them fools if they don't follow you. You know what I mean?
Right. So I forgot to mention, so David Splain had a talk, or not David Splain, Garrett Loesch, he had a talk, and I don't remember the title of this talk, but he wanted to reemphasize the teaching of the 144,000 again. He was talking about how the great crowd, they're not going to heaven. Screw them.
You mean to tell me that today, in 2017, they actually brought up the 144,000, who we understood had already been gathered back when I was still in the organization?
Oh, yeah, they're back on that, too.
Like, how long does it take to fill up those seats? I mean...
So he was like, so it was talking about Revelation 7:9, the great crowd, and he was trying to re-explain why the great crowd, despite the fact that it plainly says right there that they're in heaven, he's pretty much re-explaining the 2-tier system that Rutherford came up with back in the day. So
I just realized that everything they believe depends on a double interpretation.
Yep.
There's like twos and everything.
They're obsessed with doubles. I don't understand.
Overlapping doubles,
double vision,
2 classes, earthly class, heavenly class. Yeah.
So now we have 3 doubles so far with the organization. We have a double overlapping generation. Starting this year, we have a double vision. And we have a 2-tier class system, and reinforcing the beneficiary system of being associated with the anointed ones.
Oh my God.
So he'll say this. Now get this. Now he objectifies the quote unquote other sheep, because he says that the great crowd is God's footstool. I want you to envision that because of our position, we are a footstool. That's all we get. That's all we get.
Right. Okay. I've heard that before. Actually, I've heard that.
So we're being ruled by these corrupted kings in heaven, while we get to be footstools. Anyway, so I thought people would freak out on that one.
Yeah. I think I remember that from the Revelation book or something.
Right. And it was talking about how the purpose of Warwick was not for any man's praise, but for God's praise. But anyway, so now I'm going to get to Tight Pants Morris, and then I'll pretty much be ready to wrap this up. But
yeah, sorry, I know you have a limited amount of time, but yeah, best you can.
No, I have plenty more pathway before I get back home.
Okay.
I actually have to take a detour to finish this, so I'm a little extended on how much time I can be here. So you either have until I get home or until my battery runs out, whatever comes first. So anyway, Tony Morris's talking about making our blows count. And he's, first of all, reinforcing the idea the end is so close. So close. And I was thinking, sure it is, Tony. Your end is close.
Yeah. Yeah, I give it about another month and a half. Oh, wait, no. We're down to weeks now till Warwick. But anyways, continue.
So anyway, he says this. Now, I'm quoting him, not directly word for word, but the idea is that the governing body is concerned about how much time is left. Now, people are thinking this is before Armageddon is supposed to strike. But the way I took it, the way we would take it, since we've been, practicing using our brains, is
who has been practicing using our brains?
Us, the people who left.
No, I never do that. No.
Oh, okay.
No,
sorry. I guess I'm alone there.
Speak for yourself, buddy. I'm trying to kill off these brain cells as much as possible, but
God, what was I thinking?
It's all right. You didn't know. It's fine.
Oh, all right. It's all right. I'm sorry to everybody in the group who I misspoke. My bad. Anyway, so it's like, governing body is concerned about the time left, and the meaning that I had behind that was they're concerned because they're losing money and people, not because Armageddon's so close.
Yeah. Well, for them, that is Armageddon, if you think about it.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Think about it. They lost Russia already, and at this point, we are. For anyone who's not aware, Trisha, I forget her last name. Trisha, Canada now has a class action lawsuit, $60 million. A class action lawsuit was filed in Canada. So they're losing chunks of money, but still, even between those two losses, $120 million isn't really much when you bring in $1 billion a year. So, but they're losing chunks at a time. So he says this, and I had to quote him on this. He says, "People who aren't rightly disposed are a waste of time."
Whoa! No crap.
So what he was saying is that people have magazine routes and everything, but these people have been doing this for years. So, if these people aren't making enough progress in a certain amount of time, he was pretty much saying to cut them.
Oh, nice. You gotta love that.
Well, yeah, pretty much I do, but, it was pretty much getting worse, It was getting worse as time went on because I started thinking about this over and over again. Mm-hmm. And so it's like I had to start repeating that statement in my head over and over again. I was like, so you love people so much, you're the most loving organization, but if we take too long, it's screw you.
Yeah, I kind of have a few problems with that.
Go on.
First of all, I'm pretty sure that they've taught in the past that we are to do this until the very end, correct?
Yes.
So if we have someone that has any hope at all, like if there's any chance that they can be won over, where in the Bible does it say to cut them loose because there's better sheep out there? Don't worry about that sheep. He's going nowhere. Just
it's over, so one of the problems they were having was focusing on their magazine placement, blah, blah, blah. And he was saying to refocus your efforts. So it's kind of like, refocus. Because as you keep on going with this idea of refocusing your efforts, what you're really being told is, it's time to drop these non-productive people and go for the people who will act on what they learn, which was a quote. Look for people who will act upon what they learn. So, there's so many people. He was saying, there's so many tools, so now there's going to be this little special toolbox.
So let's stop for a moment here, because do you realize the implication of that? The fact that those people that they were studying with, that the Watchtower now wants you to cut loose because they were preached to and did not respond quick enough, technically they were given a chance. So when Armageddon does happen, those people will be marked for eternal destruction.
Exactly.
And they're completely fine with that. Now, if they would have stayed with those Bible studies, there's a chance maybe eventually they would have been won over and started to become a good, wholesome Jehovah's Witness. But because the governing body just instructed you to let them go, they are now absolutely marked for eternal destruction.
Exactly. And he was saying that, and then he started to go with the new changes. Now, as like I posted on Facebook, as of January, this coming January, as John Cedars called it, there is no more yearbook. There will not be a 2018 yearbook.
This
it's
is the
over
big
with
one, guys. This is the big one. This is the one that has everybody freaking out.
So the live chat's going crazy. I can't.
They have been crazier tonight than I have ever seen them. Like, the live chat has literally been. I mean, they've had like fork and knife, just cutting each other open and taking bites. It's been. I've never seen anything like it. But where were we? The yearbook. Okay.
Right.
Now,
so
the reason people are freaking out, if it's my understanding, the reason why people are freaking out so much that they're no longer doing a yearbook is because it's easy to make the assumption, well, if there are no more yearbooks, then does that mean there are no more future years to worry about? To
be honest, man, that is from what like I said, I heard the rest of the talk, and that's the speculation. So that's the speculation. It's not like Tight Pants said, "All right, guys, this is it."
I know.
You know,
I know he would never say that. But as an indoctrinated Jehovah's Witness, because I still, like, I've put all that behind me, and I really don't think about it anymore. But it's so easy. Anytime I talk about this stuff, anytime I think about their announcements, it's so easy to be right back there and know exactly how I would have responded if I was in that congregation. And as an indoctrinated Jehovah's Witness, if I would have heard that there will be no future yearbooks, I immediately would have thought, then how could there be more years? That would have been my first thought. But continue.
And to be honest, though, that thought process, that wasn't even the first thing I thought. What I thought was it was coupled with what he said around the same time. He said that starting in the new year, there's only going to be 3 editions of the Watchtower per year.
Yeah, wow.
So I thought in combination with the yearbook, it's like, okay, let's slash the printing some more. That was my first thought, but that's because I've been out for about a year. So
it's really genius, and I want to just say this really quick, and then I'll let you get back to it. It's marketing genius to cut back costs by limiting the amount of materials you're producing. At the same time, the effect of doing that, saving money, is you're going to freak everyone in your following out into paying closer attention because they think that the cutbacks mean they're getting really close. You're getting really close. Oh, they're cutting back. They don't need to do this. They don't need to do that anymore.
And I want you to think about this too. I forgot to mention this from way earlier, but Jeffrey Jackson was saying that, just like at any other circuit assembly, only this was bigger, that we all think about how the end's so close. We're hearing this at the end of the meeting, but during the middle, you're hearing we all have the privilege to donate. So keep donating, but the end is so close, right?
Yeah, because some religious organizations, they don't have the privilege to donate. No, they're forced to keep their money and just hope that everything works out without them. So wonderful, this privilege.
That's the way that it went down. I kid everybody not. Like, I wouldn't leave my house and be sweating like heck right now if I was kidding. Yeah. I mean, think about all the blunders being told so far. I mean, for anyone who still believes in the Bible, I mean, we're being told the temple in Revelation 7:9 about the great crowd was a symbolic temple, and yet the 144,000 is literal.
Yeah, right.
So how? I don't understand how. And there was something going on with the dedication program. It was actually the second part, and the video. It was a video that was playing, so this wasn't live. This was a video playing, and he was saying that a worldly person had said, "I trust you people," and God is behind everything that these guys do.
Wow.
I was like, I don't see that. No.
No.
It's like that had to have been if that was a real person, it had to have been a scripted response to say those two things in conjunction with each other.
Right.
I mean, because God is behind everything was pretty much right after saying, I trust you people? Why is he saying I trust you? Why would that be an emphasis in 2017?
Well,
because people are losing trust.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, you answer your own question, you know.
These are rhetorical questions, of
Right.
course. I know the answer, but,
right.
you know.
Right.
So, you know, talking about, you know, there was talks about how Jehovah keeps us safe. And my response to that was, so he kept all those children being sexually abused. Where was God then? So, how? And I blame the God of the Watchtower, not the God that actually exists. I mean, but that's just me.
JW Primetime is in the comments, and he says, I remember rushing. Oh, I lost it. Hold on. He says, I remember rushing to get my very own Revelation book after the Sunday session. Then I got a dog that needed to be housebroken. Now I have no book.
You know, so, you know, we're being told history lessons on how the 185,000 people with one angel were wiped out. And this is in the same talk. I forget which talk was this. I think this was in Garrett Loesch's talk, or towards like the tail of the Watchtower. We're being told, well, God, Jehovah knows and promises that we can cope. You know, it's like, okay, so I'm losing my job, I'm losing my house and everything, but God promises, right? You know, he promises we can cope as these guys get richer and richer.
Well, yeah, all of those layoffs, I mean, they need to address the fact that people in their ranks are suffering, that they're being cast aside and they're being neglected and treated like this disposable garbage. It's not just us who Jehovah throws like a piece of garbage. It's not just us.
Right.
It's their own people that are being discarded like a piece of garbage.
Yeah, so there's not really much left. I mean, some of the same regurgitated BS we've reheard over the years. But this is supposed to be a talk, you know, so something that was supposed to reinforce people's beliefs in a positive way. And you're being told, listen, pretty much before you guys think about leaving, just remember, Sennacherib and 185,000 men were wiped out in an instant. You know, so what you said about being marked for death, I mean, that was a concept that was restated too. But then they turn around and they say, you know, Jehovah loves you all so much.
Oh, yeah.
And like at this point, even if I was still in, I'm gonna be honest, even if I was still in, my thought at this point would be, well, he doesn't love me, he loves my money.
He loves your money, he loves your time.
Yeah.
Those are the only two things that he needs.
You know, so and there was another thing that was being emphasized, how I think this was Jeffrey Jackson speaking in the video or something or other, so that he was like, to be willing to put your lives on hold. You know,
what lives?
So he'll say,
what
so
lives
the people,
do Jehovah's Witnesses have to put on hold? I mean, they're already like you already said, they're janitors, they're window washers, they own their own cleaning businesses. But other than that, they are putting in all this time in service. They are studying. They are going to all their meetings, and they're not allowed to do anything extracurricular. They're not allowed to be involved with sports. They're not allowed to be anywhere near any sort of military or what life are they putting on hold exactly? They're not supposed to go to college. They're not supposed to be too involved with any career that's going to take away too much time from them. So I'm just wondering, what is it that they're advising you be willing to put on hold?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. So, you know, there was a video being shown, and like I said, I only have the audio of this, and the woman there was a married woman who said, you know, and she sounds like she has terribly low self-esteem, because she says, I told my husband, you must go. And the only reason why she was telling her husband that he had to go is, she said this right after, she said, it's the only way to feel like I contributed to the project, you know, of Warwick.
Oh,
the only way to feel like, you know, so ladies out there, if you have if you have husbands, pretty much you can't do anything with Warwick. Not really, you know. So if you can't do anything, I mean, there were sisters on the building team, but you know, if you can't do anything, just let your husbands go. You know, don't. And think about it, these are doing this stuff for free. So how are the bills getting paid at home again?
Yeah, that's a great point, isn't it?
You know, it was like that was something I was thinking about. It wasn't mentioned. It was like, hold on.
Well, if you want to hear all about how terribly the brothers are treated in Bethel and Warwick, Marcus Vaughn, he'll tell you all about it. He'll tell you all about the food shortages.
Heavily with those videos.
I mean, whereas we all enjoy pancakes with syrup, he will tell you that there's none of that, except for on Sunday, I think.
He was saying how there is no bed in Bethel. You don't have a bed.
No beds.
Nope. You don't even get a bed. You don't get a towel. You get a teeny tiny little allowance for toiletries, which when I was talking to a Bethel brother years ago, because I took a tour of Bethel in 2013 on Black Friday, and what I heard was that at that point in time, the allowance was only about $30 a month.
Oh, $30 a month. That's livable. That is sustainable. Now
and that was 4 years ago. I mean, so now think about 4 years later into the organization's future. Now thinking they probably don't get zippity-doo-dah.
Not only is there a biscuit and gravy shortage at Bethel, but you got to live on $30 a month. Phenomenal. I mean, so phenomenal.
I was hearing. I mean, but it could have been. Well, God knows they didn't increase it because saving money. So they can't increase their allowance, so they just cut them. And I was talking to a family member, and I was telling him about I'm having a hard time finding a job and things like that. And she says, well, why don't you go to Bethel? And I'm like, aren't they laying off Bethelites? And she said, oh yeah, never mind.
That would be like joining the military right as we launched a nuclear war with North Korea.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, and these are some of the craziest things in the world, because you're being told you're going to have the peace of God that excels all understanding, and that was after pretty much talking about the negatives. So once again, at least twice during this whole thing, you're being told, look, first of all, there has to be negatives that exist in order to ignore them. Yeah. So you're being told, look, just put that to the side, that they don't exist. You think about positives,
That's a great point. Yeah, I'm glad you caught that. Well, thanks.
Yeah, I had a lot of the things, like if I email my notes to people, I put my own thoughts in italics the same way Cedars would on JW Survey. Mm-hmm. So I put my own thoughts in italics, and I'm thinking all these things, and I might even have to go back and re-listen to all this, because there might be even more that I missed.
I wouldn't copy everything Cedars writes, though.
I wasn't trying to,
because there's a few passages there that you probably don't want to jot down.
I was giving people a point of reference. That's all.
I'm just playing with you.
I don't want to be like Cedars.
You know me, man. We have to make a couple jokes here and there whenever the good old JC is mentioned. I was referring to the fact that he wrote about his aching balls and whatnot in the shower. The shower debacle. Yeah, I was referring to that. Like, if you're taking notes and you're doing it in the style of John Cedars, just omit the part about your aching balls.
Oh yeah, I have to do that. I mean, I was thinking about putting out a video about that, but I just said nah. No. I just said nah. No, I'm playing.
I know you are. I hope you are. But I you
somebody right now who might be joining, who might not like us, is probably clicking the flag video as quick as they can. Flag, what?
Oh man, we have so many flags around here, man. It looks like outside of a government building we got so many flags. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how many people have heard about this, but now there's people having to. I think the witnesses now have to, by law, display. I think it's the flag in the UK. I think it is some foreign country. They have to put the flag. I asked the live chat because I forget what country it was.
Have to put the flag where?
I think it's in the UK. I think
that they have to do what with it?
Other country overseas. They have to display the flag of that country. It's now mandated by law.
Well,
Not
I mean,
here.
I want to say that it's just common practice anyway. Like,
Well, here's the thing. Let's think about how much. The reason why it bothers me is think about how much resistance was behind Russia, right? So if you're going to put so much resistance forth to make sure the system doesn't take your stuff, your assets, well, then think about it like, well, if you're going to be so adamant about that, why don't you fight against putting up a flag? You're not losing any property. You just got in like, so why don't you fight for your beliefs then? But that's perfectly fine because, you know, as I've done a lot of research, they're still part of the European United Nations as of now. You know, so that's pretty much all I got. Is there anything I can clarify?
I was just gonna say, if you got any final thoughts, final words before I cut you loose, I thank you so much for giving us an update on what you saw, what you heard. Well, what you heard. The thing I wanted to apologize too. This was a very short notice live stream. I got out of work late. I had some technical difficulties, and I've been swamped, my friend. And I feel like I've been so rude to you, like chatting, because I've just had these really quick, short responses because I have had so much on my plate lately. It's unreal.
I believe you, and the thing is that when I first was talking to Joel about being on, I didn't know how much of an inconvenience I was being because of all the things I had to tell you about, you know, the requirements I had to meet to be on tonight.
Man, if it was an inconvenience, we'd tell you, you know, we just can't do it, you know.
So it wasn't a big deal for me, and I didn't mind doing on short notice. I feel like this is the biggest thing I could do is to tell people what I heard with my own 2 ears. And hey, if I missed anything, if in my jumbled brain I messed something up, well, you can email me and you can get the audio and you can hear it for yourself. You know, so darkcorereaper@gmail.com, all one word. People, you can contact me also through the group on Facebook. So people have been getting that from me. So
you've got some of the audio on your YouTube channel too, as well, right?
I'll be putting it up eventually, but I have not uploaded it. Actually, I sent it like 7 times to Son of Thunder, and I was hoping that his last video would have included some of that, but it was just a short video. So I'm hoping that what he's going to do is like do some editing, you know, master it a little bit to make it better.
I'm sure he will eventually. Eric too has a tremendous amount of stuff on his plate right now.
Right. So if you guys want to get the raw audio, that is completely fine with me. It's my goal to get it out as quickly as possible anyway. There's nothing I enjoy more than being defiant to the governing body now. So, so it's pretty much a hobby now. I mean, if there was, I just wanted to know, is there any final questions from you? Because I know I've repeated myself a lot. So if there's anything.
Let me think.
You can also check the live chat too in case I missed anything.
Okay, yeah, that's a great idea. Live chat. Do you have any questions about? They call it the annual meeting, correct? That's what it was.
Yes.
All right. Does anyone have any questions for DR about the annual meeting? Put it in all caps if you don't mind. It's easier for me to see in the swarm of insane drug-fueled jibber jabber. Oh man, you got to see this live chat, dude. Luckily this time while I'm live streaming, I actually recorded the live chat, so you'll be able to watch, play back, and see just how insane this live chat has been tonight. I mean, I
know. It's like that. It's like since I'm doing this through my phone, you know, I actually wanted to be in the live chat as I was talking to you, but. You know, I was like, okay, so how am I supposed to hold my laptop as I walk around my neighborhood? I mean, how am I supposed to do that?
That's pretty impossible.
You know, because I thought about so many different ways of doing this. You know, I was like, okay, I can get my car, and then I can do some stuff. Nah.
Hey, man, we make it work. Anything you can do, we make it work.
So
I'm not getting any questions yet on the live chat, but
everybody.
I might ask a
This,
few questions actually before you go. Just one
yep.
question, really. How long have you been out of the truth, or awake, as they like to say sometimes?
That is a very open-ended answer for that because you could say I was shifting between waking up and going back to sleep, as it were. I had been fully awake since 2016, last year, so last spring, but I started to wake up in 2014 when my brother got disfellowshipped.
So that was a
And
big turning point for you.
yeah, I mean, so that's where I plunged into research, but then I went to a point in time where I was like, this is all bull crap. You guys are making up stories, the whole nine, the stereotypical responses. And so I've been fully like awake and decided not to go back April of last year. And that's where I said, I'm just done.
Done.
And then I tossed around the idea of a channel for a while. I said, should I not?
And we are protecting your identity because you still have family that are in. Is that correct?
Yeah. So what my father is a non-believer. However, he supports my mother, who'll be upset with me if she knew I was doing this, but at the same time, though, I know that there's something within her because she's not telling the elders on me, though. She says it's none of their business.
So wait, she has an idea that you're not anymore?
No. Like, I live with my parents, so, they both know that I'm not going. On the other hand, my mother, while she knows I completely disagree with it, she hasn't told the elders about our conversations.
Oh, that's good.
So, she says, it's none of their business, so... so I think there's something in her that's sort of maybe kind of waking up, but she even said this, man, I'm going to die a witness. Like, there's nothing you can say. I mean, before you even start the live chat, I told you, it's kind of like I showed her the commission. She thought, apparently all of us apostates out there are just amazing hackers. We know how to chop stuff together. We all just have this knowledge. We can just do every single thing in the world. My dad will support her, although he doesn't agree with it, but that's for his own ridiculous reasons. And then my older brother is a believer, and he moved away. So but good news though is that I've learned from the mistakes with my mom because I wasn't yelling at her, but I was being a bit aggressive with our conversations. So with my brother, I've turned more to asking questions, and usually because I'm scared that he's going to shut me, I usually start tearing up a lot. I'm sensitive that way. So,
oh man, I remember the first time I told my dad that I just don't see the direction in the governing body and the elders anymore. I was bawling, dude. Right. I mean, so that's
my brother told me. My brother has told me, so long as you're not saying things, like hail Satan or anything, that our relationship is safe. And I think actually he even told me a few months ago as we were playing on the game, he said to me, do I believe everything that comes off that platform? No.
Who said that? Your dad?
My brother.
Your brother, wow.
And he was baptized a year before I was. So he's telling me, he doesn't believe everything that comes off that platform, but he still says worst case scenario, the J-dubs are closer to the truth than everybody else.
That's so stupid. Oh, we're going to settle for the Jehovah's Witnesses because they're the closest to being inspired by God.
Yeah, so he I think, because we've had a couple of conversations based on scripture, which seems to be the angle I can go from. And instead of making statements, though, I learned from my mistakes, and I'm just going to ask questions. And he says, look, I'll have Bible conversations with you, but in terms of what the organization's doing, he pretty much drew a line in the sand, like, we're not going to go there.
Wow.
So he was like, because we even had a conversation scripturally a couple months ago, and he was saying, I said, I forget exactly what the topic was on. I think it was about Jesus being Michael the Archangel and all that. And I was like, and so we were talking. It's like, what? I can definitely see the angle you're going from. And I was like, angels can't be worshipped. So if Jesus was worshipped, and Jesus is Michael, then aren't they committing idolatry? And he was like, that's a very good question. I told him, look, I tried taking this to the elders. I've already tried, and I get looks like you've turned to the dark side. This was before I woke up and left. So, it's like, so every time I asked a question, it was like, I turned, so I stopped asking. And he said, well, I'll be honest with you. If you were to ask those questions to me and I was an elder, I would be raising eyebrows at the organization, not you. Yeah. So it's kind of like there's something in him that's waking up. But unlike my mom, I'm not going to I'm not going to initiate the conversation at every given opportunity. I'll have a conversation, then I'll let it cool down for a couple months.
That's the best way to do it.
And so it's pretty much as if like my techniques before with my mom pushed her deeper into the claws of the governing body than anything else. That's cool. So I had to learn from that, and it feels like my brother is waking up somewhere. Like one of the big catalysts, like for example, is my sister-in-law. Now my sister-in-law, and that's the only reason why I don't have my brother with me. He moved to an undisclosed state and he got married. His wife, get this, she was like, when they were engaged, like, we're going to pioneer and blah, blah, blah. And then, so then my brother's like, okay. And then, he moves out there, and she's been lazy with the organization ever since they got married.
She was all talk, huh? She just wanted to get married.
I think there is a very minuscule chance that she is either waking up or is already awake, because ever since they got married, she's been constantly making excuses for why she's not going to the hall. And part of them are her mental problems, that she has bad anxiety, and she in field service, she'll only go out for half an hour and say, okay, I'm done. I'm going home. And since my brother loves her so much, like half the time my brother will call it quits with her, because, they're not going to drive home. And then, my brother won't drive her home and then turn around and go back out to the ministry. If she goes, he's finished, because she's the one that drives anyway. So
that's why it's important to not be unevenly yoked.
So like that's pretty much like where my family's at. I already woke up my grandmother.
Wow, awesome.
I was able to dead up wake her up, because what actually happened was that she was left.
Did you say dead up wake her up?
Like dead up, like as in she, like, it wasn't hard. She didn't even argue with me. She was completely with me from conversation one, because she never did research, but the catalyst towards her waking up was the fact that even though she's done nothing wrong, the congregation leaders are isolated unless the circuit overseer comes around, and everybody loves her again. But apart from that, no one ever calls her, no one ever visits her. But then the CO comes in, it's like, oh, how are you? Hugs and kisses. And then the CO leaves. It's like, okay, we're done with you. So I kept on saying, with different things, including the Australian World Commission, I said, would God's organization treat you like that? She said, no. So I kept on going with those conversations. And she's like, because of what I told her about the pedophiles, because of that, she skipped this last year's convention.
No way.
I said, so she is fully awake because of what I told her. She will play the game because my aunts support her, taking her to the doctors and all that stuff. But apart from bare minimum, my grandmother said, I'm never going back.
You just made me think of something kind of important here. Right. So it's not just child abusers that are in the congregations. There's sex offenders and abusers of all kinds, right? When you think about it, a lot of these grandmothers are being helped to and from the conventions, right? Maybe even helped with lodging. I don't know if I would trust my grandma with a lot of these Jehovah's Witnesses who are in the congregations, who are sickos, who have not been reported to the authorities. They are abusers of all kinds. That's pretty wild. Like, no, I would not trust my grandma with these sickos. Did you understand like the path I'm going down here?
I'm just gonna say ew, and I'm gonna move on.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you got her out of it, man, because
it wasn't too difficult, because it's she's been isolated apart from like my two aunts who help her out. She's been isolated for the last 2 years, except for that, with the exception of the circuit overseer, whose last 2 visits I sat in on personally. And now I just stayed quiet. I didn't say nothing. But as soon as they left, I said, now let's be like, she was already mad from the start because she knows that these guys are hypocrites. Mm-hmm. So she already knew they were hypocrites from the start. All I had to do was give her the push of good verifiable information, and she was gone. Like, there was like, well, what about? And she was like, no, you're right. I can't say you're wrong because all the points you showed me were from the Bible anyway. Like, she's not sure about the legal sides of it, because I heard that, you know what Son of Thunder did with the FBI, the symbols that were declassified. She believes that was fabricated, but she still believes that what I told her scripturally was the truth, that it disagrees with the Bible. So it wasn't really hard to go from that angle.
So that's a good one up to everybody who is trying to get their loved ones out. It does, you heard it here, sometimes occasionally work. Hey, show them a scripture that blows apart everything they believe. That's a good angle to come from. It shouldn't be discounted.
So I'm actually outside of my house right now. If there's no other questions, I guess we can sign out.
Well, DR, thank you again, my friend, for doing this. We got a lot of really good information from you, and I'm glad we took the time to do this. Thank you so much.
Oh, absolutely. I was looking forward to it. Like, I was so excited overnight, I could barely sleep.
so that's awesome.
I couldn't. I was up so early in the morning, and I was just watching the time tick by. I was turning on my Xbox and playing it, turning all the way down, just pacing around the room.
Oh man!
I really wanted to do this, so like I didn't want the complications with me to bar me from being able to do it.
Hey, so it worked out. Now I rarely have Saturdays off, or I should say I rarely get off early on Saturdays enough to accommodate an earlier show, but it just so happened that this Saturday I got off at like 4 o'clock, so it worked out, my friend.
Yeah, it sure did. So I will catch everybody in the group. I still got plenty more hours to be up anyway. It's dark as heck over here, but it's only 7:50 over here. So
you should replay the show on YouTube on my channel and watch the live chat and just see the whole wow.
Oh, you know I will. I will.
You just wouldn't believe what they did.
So I will catch everyone. I'll catch everyone later. I did this out of love. I got to be honest. I did what I did out of love. I mean, I want you guys to think about a hot room, poorly ventilated. I have lower back problems. At least, it doesn't flare up every single day, but this day it was terrible. And then I'm sitting by a boring, droning on meeting with a full bladder. Like, after the first half hour, I had to go, but I didn't know how much room my old iPhone could store on it, so I have to be ready to stop and then set up a new one. Yeah. So I'm sitting there, doing the dance.
Well, thank you so much for your diligence and doing that.
A lot of love, guys. I love you guys. I will catch you guys later.
Have a good night, my friend. Wow. So I take it that you guys can probably still hear me. I gotta get my camera out here, or maybe start a new Skype call with someone else. Cindy James, accept. Maybe I can get Cindy on here. There, now you can see me again. Let's see if she answers. I'm going to put the live chat up here. I'm going to take a little intermission here. Hey there. Cindy, are you there?
Hey, Parker.
Hey, how you doing? I got you live on my channel here. I just wanted to see if you had anything to say. If it's not a bad time, I hope I'm not bothering you.
Nope, not a bad time at all.
Okay.
I don't have anything to add.
Nothing to add. Okay, well, I may wrap this up then. I have something else that I kind of wanted to talk about. But before I jumped into that, I need to take a quick intermission.
Okay.
Are you still on the live chat in there? Are you watching what's going on?
Yeah, I'm watching what's going on.
Okay.
There it is.
All right, so it's up to you if you want to stay on and kind of just be a part of the rest of my little rant that I'm going to go on in a minute, or you can.
Sure.
You want to stay along?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I'll follow along.
I told everyone in the live
Sounds
chat, hey, add me on Skype, and maybe I'll get you on here. And you were like one of the only ones that added me. No one loves me.
Oh,
All right, so
that's too bad.
so I'm just gonna walk away for like 3-4 minutes. So the live chat's still going. You can mute your mic or you can talk to them if you want. Whatever you want to do. I'll be back in a few. Okay.
Alrighty.
Awesome.
I just got invited to live chat. Perfect.
I'm going to start.
Go ahead, honey.
Oh, get out from under my feet.
So, what I miss?
No idea.
Yeah, live chat's been crazy tonight. Sorry, that's probably the
Yeah,
weirdest
yeah.
live stream ever. Like the person live streaming just like walks away for a couple minutes in the middle of it. But so I did want to talk about one more thing. But before I get into that, is there anything you can tell me about yourself that you don't mind sharing? Are you?
About me.
Yeah.
What would you like to know?
Well, I'm curious. How long have you been out of the organization?
Oh, I've been out, let's see, 25. How old's my daughter? 24 years.
Oh my goodness. So yeah.
Yeah, I've been out a long time.
And what was the biggest thing that helped you get away from it all?
Well, as a kid, I couldn't keep my questions to myself. So I was always in trouble with the elders for asking stuff, and that would get me in trouble at home, and things didn't make sense. My biggest thing, and you're going to find this funny, but I had asked my father's best friend, who was an elder at the time, about dinosaurs
Oh,
and
me
why
too.
they're not in the Bible.
Me too.
Yep, because I loved them as a kid. I was so fascinated with them, and they weren't in the Bible anywhere, so I couldn't get it out of my head. Where did the creation thing come in before or after dinosaurs?
Hey,
Because it never says.
but they were in that one brochure, or was it the My Book of Bible Stories book?
I think it was My Book of Bible Stories.
Yeah, you know the image I'm talking about, the flood scene, and
Yeah.
there's like that head of a T-Rex just kind of poking out of the
Right.
water. Oh, what's that doing there?
Yep.
One of
You know.
their early versions of the Bible had like brontosauruses on the map at the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
but I can't remember. I'm not real fresh on those details though. But yeah, so that's interesting. Something as simple as, hey, why aren't the dinosaurs discussed? And it's a fair question. I mean, it may seem
Yeah.
silly to a lot of people, but if this is your book that's supposed to explain everything, that's supposed to give you your complete understanding of the world and the universe, it'd be nice to have that in there, right?
Yeah, it would be. Yeah, you would think. But they were not fond of being asked questions they didn't know the answer to because they didn't have people researching that stuff for kids.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because all kids were into, well, in my day, it was dinosaurs, everything, because archaeology was finding bones after bones in big areas, you know, so it was all over the news and they were making movies about them and that kind of thing, and it was a big deal. And it's like, well, are they real or are people making these bones out of plaster Paris, you know?
Yeah, and what's interesting about the Jehovah's Witnesses and their interpretation of the Bible, I think a lot of people interpret the Leviathan and the, what was it? Leviathan and the, do you guys know what the scripture I'm talking about? There is a scripture that talks about Leviathan and his tail being like the cedar tree or something, like this massive creature fighting another massive creature. I think it was Leviathan and Behemoth or something like that. Well, anyways, I remember the Watchtower's interpretation of that scripture was a hippopotamus and a crocodile. Like, they were so unwilling to touch on the dinosaur thing that they interpreted the tail like a cedar tree as being an alligator.
Okay.
Yeah. They were just very anti-dinosaur for some reason. But anyways.
Yeah.
Wow, what a
anti
tangent.
anything, actually. As long as you asked a question, you know, and it wasn't about Jehovah, you were pretty much in trouble anywhere you looked at it. You know, and my dad was, my real father was in and out when I was real young, and he died when I was 7.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And then my mom got remarried, and he became an elder, the new dad. And so I kind of lived with that growing up. You know, I don't know, there were questions I had that I figured elders would know, you know, but they were just too deep for the elders. And my dad especially. He's like, if you ever find the answer, let me know, you know, kind of stuff. But yeah, it's been a long time.
It's funny how a lot of their doctrines are wild speculation, but then there are some things that they won't even speculate about. I mean, it's like, it's completely off limits. Don't even go there. They'll shut you down. They're like, well, we're not supposed to worry about that. You know, Jehovah will answer it in his own due time, whatever, yada, yada, yada. Yet we have overlapping generations and 1914 and light getting brighter and so on and so forth. Tonight we found out that now there's double vision. So.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing? It's like, oh, all right. Now what? It's kind of, you know, wearing on you. It's like, what's new? Well, that's new, but not really, because, you know, they're coming up with so much stuff. I think sometimes that they just want to snow you, you know, because they got so many apostates out there now. More apostates, I think, anyway. More people out of the organization than in these days. Easily. You know, they can't come after us all.
Yeah. Well, it's good to have you on.
Right? Well, that's good to talk to you too.
I appreciate all your support. I know I've seen your comments on my channel.
Yep.
I'm
a fan.
Awesome. Well, I'm a fan too. I appreciate. I really do appreciate it every time somebody says something nice instead of You know, oh, you mentally diseased apostate, or
Mm, I
oh my
know.
gosh, I
I know.
now I've been called a racist because the last video I did, I guess, didn't have any black people in it. So I was called a racist, and it was this
Oh
long.
gosh, doesn't that hurt?
Oh,
I got called
it
that just for a
does.
comment that I made in something else I was watching, and I got called a racist, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, that scared me because my family is so jumbled with the races, it's unbelievable, you
Right.
know, and they don't know me, and that's kind of what I had to remember was, wait a minute, these are strangers calling you this,
Yeah.
you know.
And that's the
I
whole
just kind of
thing.
left.
I never lose sleep over the words of a stranger, you know?
It's a good thing to live by because they can really snag you.
Oh yeah, I
You
mean, they can
know,
come up with
I'm
real
feeling
creative
it for
ways.
all the YouTubers out there right now that are getting hit by the undercover JWs, you know, that are out there throwing nasty stuff around
Mm-hmm.
on people's websites are just horrible.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting because now I've been a little bit more open when I started live streaming about like you know, who I am and my name and everything, and now I'm getting all these friend requests, and I like to confirm as many of them as possible if they have a
Mm,
lot of mutual friends with me. But you'll get one that'll be a dud. It'll be a fake profile. It'll be someone undercover. And once you get that
mhm.
person on your friends list, and you don't know which one it is, right? Because there's just like this flood of
Right.
people that are adding me all the time, right? Then once you got them on there, then a whole nother swarm of fake profiles will start adding you, and it's oh my gosh, it's crazy. And I suspect
Gross and gross.
a lot of them are these undercover witnesses that are just oh, they're keyboard warriors. It's just the wildest thing.
Hmm. And it's funny who they keep track of.
Yeah.
I'm a nobody, you know. They lost my publisher card years ago, and they truly did. It's why I couldn't get disfellowshipped.
Because they lost it.
They lost my publisher card, so there's no record of me anywhere,
Wow.
you know. And yet I'm not doing anything. I'm not even disfellowshipped, and I'm going through the shunning thing too, you know. And now my mother's up there in years. I just lost my father last month, yeah,
Sorry.
and you know, so they're getting on in years, and I know. Oh, I heard through the grapevine in the family that my father, my stepdad, had been giving. You're gonna love this, Parker. He had been giving 10% of his income to the organization, and that was on top of the donation boxes.
Oh my God.
And I did some research, and I'm finding that is very common.
Yeah.
So I went into the tithing scriptures to find out what that was all about, because that's something that they're using inside the organization on these elderly people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's more popular in Europe than it is over here because of our laws and that protect the elderly with their finances and such. But over in Europe, they have built what are they called? They're old people homes, but they're Jehovah Witness old people homes.
Really?
Yeah, and these people are donating all their cash, like
Wow.
$20,000-$30,000 to be cared for at this facility, because they, you know, it's
Oh,
convenient where they
wow.
get rights to the meetings and that kind of thing.
What a
And
racket. So they've got a retirement
they
facility
do,
that's for
yeah,
these well-off elderly ones so that they can get a
yeah.
large portion of money from them as they're taking care of them.
Yeah, it was unreal when I found that. It's just, oh my God, horrible. Because their attitude, I was almost grateful that my grandmother had passed many years ago, so she's not part of that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think about my mom, you know, and if they
Yeah.
built a facility like that over here, those old people have a really bad attitude when it comes to non-JW elderly people.
That makes
They
me
don't.
sick to my stomach.
It does, and it did me too, and it was just gut-wrenching the way our elderly over there were feeling towards old people that needed their assistance. All that money coming and going out of the building, and they can't even feed somebody who just drops in for a meal that isn't a Jehovah Witness.
Well, you know, the visitors aren't the ones that are giving them loads of money, so why should they care about them?
Oh, right. You know, but it's just, oh, the frame of mind is frightening,
That
and the
just
money that's
feels
being spent is
so
even scarier.
wrong to me. They're literally sucking the life and money out of these people who are on their way out of this world.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yep.
just
So if they're
disgusting.
getting money for, they don't have to get up on the platform and ask for $25 million. They take it away from the elderly. And my dad had set up that off the proceeds that my mother's receiving from his will, there's still that 10% going to them. So she's forever giving it to them.
Mm. Now
She can't stop.
uh,
It's just horrible.
I hate to switch gears on you, but you mentioned the
Oh,
25
sure.
million. I just saw Son of Thunder make a video that said that they pretty much asked for 25 million. Is that right?
Yeah, he did. That's his new video. It came out this morning, I think. They were asking, because of all the hardships that the brothers are going
To
through, blah, blah,
cover the relief
to
of
cover
brothers who have
really
been affected by the fires in
yep,
California. Is that right?
fires and the hurricanes,
Hurricanes.
and also Houston, well, Texas anyway, with the flooding
So
there.
how are
You know,
we
anywhere
to
they can
know?
find it.
How are we to know, number one, if that figure, that estimate, actually is an accurate estimate of all the brothers and sisters who need help? We have no way of
Mm,
knowing that. Number two, my
no.
question is this. In the past, isn't that what our donations went towards? We didn't need an extra 25 million in the past to cover things like this?
Yep. Because neighbor helped neighbor. And Emblems for Life, I don't know if you're familiar with their videos, but they were telling their stories about the stuff going on in Texas with the flooding, and how the Jehovah Witnesses, the elders, would show up in their suits just to estimate, the damage before they helped anybody. And they were doing this while the neighbors of their friend that was a JW, they were pulling stuff out and overhauling and doing water vacs for the flooding and that kind of thing. They were actually working on cleaning up the house when the JWs stopped by and said, "No, we're not here to work.
I
We're here to
don't doubt
estimate."
that at all. I don't doubt it at all. From their inception, they've always been about, oh yeah, we're a charitable organization, but we're only going to help our own, and everyone else is pretty much.
And that's it. That's all there is. And being out so long, a lot of this surprised me. But even remembering back, it was the way they treated our elderly in the congregation. There was always a need for someone to help an elderly person, but they'd get in trouble if they couldn't get to a meeting.
Hmm.
And nobody would volunteer to go one block further to pick up an elderly brother or sister, and give them that opportunity. Now they won't even help their neighbor,
Mm-hmm.
in the
Yeah.
same dilemma. And
Yeah, do you think Jesus would
absolutely
behave in
frightening.
that manner? And you
Oh
got to
no,
think too. You got to think too. You are always about giving a public witness, right? What kind of witness is it if you help out this person who's a member of your organization while actively ignoring the people who need help next to them?
Yep.
What kind of witness does that give? And how likely are those people that live next to them to give the middle finger to the Jehovah's Witness organization and never even listen to them, even if they were preached to?
And that's what's setting the tone with all the natural disasters that are going on, and the people that are in trouble and those who come to their aid. It's a slap in their own face. Everybody knows that the Jehovah Witnesses are bad people. They're being labeled bad people because they
Wow.
won't lend a hand.
Wow.
So,
that's certainly a change from times past, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, when I was growing up, being a girl, we were taught differently than the JW boys were, because we were being prepared for marriage or Bethel. You know, and it was our responsibility to grow up to be good elder wives and set an example in field service, that kind of thing. And it was a different time, but not really. I think girls had more freedom then, but we were only taught the charitable stuff where you help. We learn to cook so you can feed the masses and that kind of thing.
Take water
And
and refreshments to the brothers who
exactly.
are putting bricks.
And that wasn't much different than what people are doing to help those who are in distress now. And yet they're being told you're not allowed to do that charitable act unless lest you shame God.
Mm.
And that's enough for me.
Yeah, right.
You know, it's just, okay, that's not the God I know.
When I was still in
That's
the organization,
not Christ that walked the earth.
Right. I wanted so badly to help out with, I want to say it was Katrina. I'm pretty sure it was Katrina. I think I was still in the organization, and I wanted to be a part of that and to help out. And I signed up. I applied for the, what's it called? The ARC? Is that what it's called? The committee for the building committee and all that.
Oh, yeah, ARC, yes.
I applied for that, and of course I got rejected. My numbers weren't good enough. I had plenty of hours. I was auxiliary pioneering and all that stuff, but I didn't have enough Bible studies, which made them suspicious of me. Like, they literally asked me, "Well, yeah, you're doing great, but if you're putting all this time in and you don't have Bible studies, something must be wrong." So it was my fault, right? So yeah, that was another one of the things that really discouraged me and put me on the road to getting out of there, because I wanted to help people so bad. But I mean, you've got to be up there to even have a chance to be allowed to go help people.
Yeah.
And what's it
even
for?
Then it's iffy.
Say again?
It's only for JWs, you know. And that's a horror story, because they're not actually helping JWs. They're pocketing the money. You know, it's, I feel so horrible for people that have their goals and their wants in the future for themselves, and then when they get there and find out how unreal what they hoped for really is.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And they're lost. You know, it's like, what do you do with that?
Yeah. It's a
My
shame.
sister had to leave the organization to serve God. That's what I tell people, because that's exactly what she did. She stopped being a JW and went over to Christ.
Well, it's an organization of man, for sure.
Yeah. You can't help anybody.
One of the big
you can't
things,
talk to anybody.
One of the big things that people have a problem with, and it's another stepping off point, is the fact that, you know, Jesus is not their mediator. It's the governing body.
Right.
Like, it's all about the governing body, you know. I'm not a Christian, but I can plainly see how different from a Christian these people really are.
Right.
It's kind of an anomaly.
Just being good people, you know, just being good people. That takes instinct. We have a human instinct, you know, that says if your neighbor is hungry, feed them. You know, they knock on your door for something, you give it to them.
Yeah.
Or you take your chances. I can't look in the mirror at myself in the mornings and think, okay, did I do the wrong thing giving that poor man a $20 bill? You know? No.
Yeah, no.
Because even if he was lying to me, the chances are better that he actually needed it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my husband calls me a street sucker because, you know, for some reason I'm a target. These people will come right up to me and ask for help, and I can see that they're in need, you know, and sure, why not? I'll empty out my coin purse for them if that's what I've got on me, you know, and they're grateful for it.
Yeah, and you're wonderful for doing
but you
that.
can't do that if you're Jehovah's Witness.
I'm kind of
you
bad
cannot
about that.
do those kind of
I'm
things.
skeptical. Yeah, you're absolutely right, and that's, wow, man, how did they have a charitable commission status or charity status? How do they have that when they do not do that? Every other Christian organization that I'm aware of at some point or another has given out to random people, not members, but just random people who are in need, and witnesses have never done that. Not that I know of.
I can't, no, I don't know any either. And I got a very large family. My Mormon side of the family is more generous. You know, they're
Wow.
very generous people.
You heard it here, ladies and gentlemen. Mormons are more
Oh, I know,
generous
right?
than the Jehovah's Witnesses.
Our family is a very large group of people that were a menagerie of different religions, and you
That's a
know,
good word.
mine got hooked into the JW part of it, and through my mom, and you know, I'm only like a not even really a third generation JW, but it was so ingrained because my dad needed that prestige. He was a new father of three little girls, you know, that had to have standing. And if it wasn't for my non-JW family, I think I would be a total basket case. You know, because they gave me examples of how to be kind and generous and in the proper ways. You know, where you see somebody pulled over on the side of the road with little kids and they're just sweating in the heat out here, you give them water, you know, you go get it and then you bring it back. You do what you can to help. And that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, I don't like to touch too much on my personal family situation, but it is remarkable how different the family dynamic is when I look at people who are worldly. So often my friends have such a tight bond with their family, and I'm very envious. I'm so envious. Because being a Jehovah's Witness, it doesn't matter how much you love your family, you are conditioned to, at any moment, be willing to let go of that person. And
That's just not
that's
something I can do. That I cannot do that. And you know, you get them good, you get them bad, but I don't know how that's even conscionable. You know, just throw people away. Human beings.
that's why, you know, with my own situation, I give my parents a lot of credit these days. They actually came to visit me not long ago, and it was a shock. And any attempt they make to stay in contact with me, it's a huge celebration for me because I mean, I know my parents and I know how fervently they believe in this stuff. So for them to make any effort at all to stay connected with me shows a tremendous amount of love. And
yeah, that's very true.
I'm gonna tear up. I can't talk about this stuff. Thank you, Cindy. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I hope that you adding me on Skype was, in fact, an invitation to have you on the show. I kind of just assumed that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
I should probably make it clear that I probably will do that in the future. That way, in case some people don't want to be exposed or put on the show,
Oh, I'm out there. I have nothing to hide. My only thing is I don't do videos.
No, that's
you
fine.
know, I do my other stuff, you know, that really takes up my time.
Yeah.
My granddaughter is autistic, so she consumes a lot of my time.
Oh, I imagine. Yeah.
But
Well,
yeah,
yes.
I'm all behind the scenes, root, and cash where I can.
Thank you so much, Cindy, and thanks for
God bless everyone.
giving your experiences, and yeah, thanks for your support on my channel as well. I always love your comments. So, all right, well, I am probably gonna let you go.
To you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll
that's
have to do it again sometime. I'm gonna try to get to more people in the future, but I'm bad. Like Google Hangouts doesn't really work a lot of time for me when I try to do it. So I've been trying Skype instead, but and it's hard to do a lot of people on Skype. But anyways, thank you so much. Have a good night,
You're
Cindy.
welcome. You too. Good night, everyone.
Bye. So guys, I am probably about to wrap this up. I'm wondering, I'm wondering if I can say a few words before I do. There was something I wanted to talk about before the end of this show. And there he is. I wanted to, if you'll allow me, just to say a few words about the methods that some XJWs use to try and break through to the Jehovah's Witnesses, or maybe sometimes it's not even their aim. Sometimes ex-Jehovah's Witnesses like to go into the Kingdom Hall and say a few words. At times it's disruptive of the meeting. We get that. Sometimes it's not so polite. Sometimes there's anger and all kinds of stuff. Sometimes there's smirking. Sometimes there's anything you can think of. It's been done by now, and we're seeing more and more of it. It's a form of activism that's kind of gaining traction, and John Cedars calls it aggressive activism. I am not going to bash John Cedars in this video. I just want to say a few words about this thing that's happening, especially because of how it relates to Warwick coming up in a couple weeks, November 5th. So there was a big split in the XJW community when John Cedars made the video, My Split with Aggressive Activism. And his argument, well, before we get into his argument, I just want to play a small portion of what he had to say in this video.
And I'm obviously aware that in a small number of cases there will be Jehovah's Witnesses who respond to that kind of activism. There will always be.
So he was on the topic of people who go into the Kingdom Hall and use this kind of activism, or they protest with, a megaphone, what have you, holding up signs, etc., etc., etc. And he says that there are those who will respond favorably to that form of activism. He says that there are some who will wake up from this. He's not denying that. It's the point he just made. And I had never caught that from this video before until just now. And it struck me because when he made this video, obviously that's not the only thing he said. I would love to mislead you and just try and, end it there and say, oh, look, John Cedars, he supports aggressive, quote-unquote, activism. But no, I'm going to be real with you. He then goes on to say that even though there are some who will respond favorably, far much more damage is done when you employ these tactics. And the point I want to make that I don't think's been made yet, not necessarily, is how do you know? How do you know? John Cedars, you are an atheist. You are a scientific-minded person. I love science, and I love the idea that in order for you to really establish something as truth, a lot of times you need to be able to experiment. You need to run tests. You need those findings to present themselves. They need to be repeatable. In other words, if you put out a test of something, if you're testing some kind of equation, it needs to be repeatable. It can't just be a fluke, right? Well, John Cedars, how do you know that people who do protests, people who go up to Jehovah's Witnesses and try and tell them things about the organization that they don't know, how do you know for a fact, that does more harm than good, that more people are put off by that than saved? Where is your proof? Where are the tests? You talk as if this is established. You talk as if this is repeatable, documented fact. And I just would like to know how you know that, sir. And to be fair, when he made this video back in the day, there were not a lot of examples of this kind of activism to choose from when making commentary on it. Tony did a memorial toast. And he said a lot of crazy stuff other than make a toast to the generation who will not pass away, may they rest in peace. There were other people there who said some stuff. We had Derek O'Hare, who I love the man, he's my hero, but let's face it, he hasn't always had the best tone, and it's understandable. He's had a lot of things happen to him because of this cult. It's understandable that he's upset. But my point is, now we have so many people that are doing these protests, and they're going into kingdom halls, and they are doing it in a fashion from a place of love, from a place of understanding, from a place of compassion. We're going in there with a tone that is not off-putting. So now more than ever, I think your argument perhaps doesn't hold as much weight as it used to. And I'm sorry, I don't have my camera going. You haven't been able to see me this whole time, but yeah, I don't think that your argument doesn't hold as much water as it used to, because you have people like Zeb, you have me, you have Down with the Tower, and they're not angry. They're not ridiculing or mocking people, Jehovah's Witnesses anymore. And I think that the amount of people, because you admitted, sir, that we are helping wake people up. Undoubtedly, there are people who respond to this form of activism. Now that it's gotten more refined, it's gotten more. I'm at a loss for words, but we're doing it better. We're doing it smarter. You talk in this video, you're split with aggressive activism. It's better that we be strategic. Well, that's exactly what we've been doing. I hope that, John Cedars, you can maybe look at things that we're doing now, as opposed to, say, 5 years ago or whenever it was, three years ago, and you reevaluate your stance. Because if there were some responding back then, the things that we're doing now, I can only imagine how many people are responding to it. And I would argue that if there's even one person responding to it, that's huge. Okay? We can't always control how indoctrinated people in the Jehovah's Witness Kingdom Hall are. We can't really control that. But if you're saying that we can knock some of them out, even though some are further indoctrinated by what we're doing, because of their persecution complex and what have you, if there's just one person who comes out, that's huge. That is huge. And I think there's a lot of factors that you've missed in that evaluation as well. For one, people who are put off by me going in there and trying to compassionately share something with them that they don't know, the people who take that as I'm a mentally diseased apostate and my persecution complex has now been confirmed, those people are diehard Jehovah's Witnesses. They're mostly elderly ones who are too invested at this point to jump ship, even if they really wanted to. And we all know the types. There are parents, there are grandparents. But the younger ones, they are only paying lip service to this thing. I promise you. Even the ministerial servants, oftentimes, the elders, in their heart, they're looking for a way out. I promise you that. A lot of them are. And you go in there and you blow their minds with something that they've never heard before, it's going to stick with them. It's going to pique their curiosity. They may not be ready to look into it right now, but who knows? I mean, it's got to eat away at them. And eventually, I think that there is a lot of potential and a lot of good to be done with taking our message to the Jehovah's Witnesses. So yeah, that's pretty much my rant. Pretty sure that covered everything I wanted to say. Let's get back to the chat here, if it's still there. All right. Yeah, sorry, I was just talking by myself just then. They're like, Parker just talking to himself. I was talking to you guys. Thanks a lot, everyone. Live chat here. I'm going to wrap this thing up now. I want to say thank you for watching. Warwick is just a few weeks away. If you can make some plans to get out there, please do it, because we'd love to meet you. And we're going to keep this thing as peaceful as possible. It's just a gathering. We've got signs. We're going to be talking to the community. We are going to really try and let people know what they don't know about this cult, and inform the public. And it would be really cool if you were involved with that. We're gaining so much support for it that I'm so stoked. I can't wait for it. And yeah, so if you can be there, that'd be awesome. I don't know how much more YouTubing I will do until then, because I'm swamped with preparations for this thing. I think my next video might be me just making phone calls, because that's pretty much all I do ever anymore is email and make phone calls. But can't focus my camera for some reason. It might be cool to share some phone calls with you guys if I can. I gotta figure out a way I can do that. But if not, then you might not see me until November 4th or 3rd or 5th. I'm not sure when I'll upload footage. I'll probably upload footage as I can. If I can take my laptop with me, I might be uploading videos like throughout the Warwick offensive, as we're calling it. Or I might just stockpile all the footage and then make one massive, like, you know, video out of it when I get back. I'm not sure. I'm going to try to do some live streaming there, on top of the Vast Apostate Hour live stream that we're hoping to do. It's going to be fun. Thanks, everyone. I'm going to end it now. See you later.